Good afternoon, and welcome to Reproaction's Act and Learn webinar for the month of December 2021. Today's topic is a year in action, and we will cover that now. So first, we'll introduce your host. The first voice you're hearing is Erin. I use she, her pronouns. I am co-founder and executive director of Reproaction, and I am based in Washington, D.C., and you can follow me on Twitter at Erin to the Max.
And the second voice you're hearing is Caitlin Lunny. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm Reproaction's Outreach and Culture Manager. I'm based in Alexandria, Virginia, and you can tweet at me at liberalJ with 2 E's.
Thank you. All right, so an agenda for our webinar today. We'll introduce Reproaction. Caitlin will do an overview of a year of bold, direct action. And then we'll talk about Reproaction's team's favorite actions of 2021, and we'll just flip through. We're really excited to have a number of people present today, and so you'll hear from our team directly, and then we'll do next steps and move to a Q&A. If you would like to live tweet, you're welcome to do that. Ask that you use the hashtag Reproaction. And also, if you have any questions at any point, just put them in the questions tab and we'll get to as many as possible at the end. So first off, who is Reproaction? So Reproaction leads bold action to increase access to abortion and advance reproductive justice. We're deeply proud of our left flank analysis, and we are known for our willingness to hold folks on all sides of the issues we work on accountable, whether they're traditionally considered allies or opposition. And we have a deep commitment to nonviolent direct action as one of the tools in our toolbox. And with that, I'll pass it to Caitlin.
Thanks, Erin. I just want to take a quick moment to acknowledge that this has been a really tough year for a number of reasons, including the pandemic, but also it has been an incredibly hard year to be doing work on reproductive justice, as well as just abortion rights generally. As Erin mentioned before, today you'll get the opportunity to hear from each of our staff members who've continued to persevere this year despite the immense challenges and hardships. Each staff member will be sharing a little bit about an action they're proud of. And with that, we're going to get started. I do want to make a quick note that Reproaction's newest staff member, Audrey, will not be presenting with us this year, but they will be joining us next year. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jessica.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Ensley. I'm the Digital Outreach Manager here at Reproaction. I use she, her pronouns. And if you want to tweet at me, it's just my first and last name on Twitter. So my highlight is a recent one. Last week, we protested former Vice President Mike Pence and Susan B. Anthony List's press conference outside the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Susan B. Anthony List is an anti-abortion organization that has ties to other pro-life leaders and organizations, along with ties to politicians, including former President Donald Trump. It's no secret that Pence and Susan B. Anthony List are hateful, anti-LGBTQ, anti-abortion bigots, so we wanted to show them that abortion is unstoppable. No matter what they try to do to the law, abortion will always be around and they can't stop it. So we were there with our lovely sign, as you can see here, and passed out some flyers. I'd like to note that these so-called pro-life leaders were getting out of their cars and heading into the press club, and they appeared visibly uncomfortable by our peaceful presence. And that is interesting because they very much encourage harassment of patients seeking reproductive health care outside of abortion clinics. Anti-abortion activists will follow patients to and from their car, scream at them, call them horrific names, all while a patient is simply trying to access care. So if these public pro-life figures cannot stand seeing a sign reading "abortion is unstoppable" in their line of sight while heading into a press conference, it's pretty ironic that they can't seem to think about actual harassment and threats that private citizens face while just trying to see a healthcare specialist. So we showed up and had lots of support from people passing and driving by, and it's one of the many reasons why I love working here. We will continue to hold these bad actors accountable and advocate for abortion access and reproductive care. For more information on how abortion is unstoppable, you can check out our self-managed abortion campaign at reproaction.org/SMA. And with that, I'll pass it back to Caitlin.
Thank you, Jessica. This next highlight comes from our senior outreach producer Eva, and her highlight for this year was the Movement Building Discussion Series, which brought together leading activists from around the country to talk about principles of intersectionality and sharing ideas and practices on how to work towards developing more inclusive spaces and policies. Eva moderated all of these panels, and if you're interested in learning more about these series, it is a really awesome training series. You can check it out on our website with the link that is on screen.
Great, and I believe next up is Liz.
Hi, so my name is Liz Skosky, and I'm the Development and Operations Manager here at Reproaction. I use she, her pronouns, and you can tweet at me at Liz Skosky. So I want to talk a little bit about my what I was most proud of, which is our paid family leave seminar on strengthening paid family leave. I was able to join as a panelist and speak about my own experiences switching jobs while pregnant and how that process exposed major flaws in our already tenuous family leave system. During the webinar, we were able to discuss the shortcomings of FMLA, which includes the time-based restriction, the fact that you must have worked for 12 months, totaling 1,250 hours to qualify for the federal leave, which is unpaid as well, but that beyond that often leaves out part-time workers or workers who have gaps in their resumes for a variety of reasons. Beyond that, we were also able to look at how it creates a major complication for people who can become pregnant, trapping them in whatever job they happen to have when the pregnancy happens. It was great to have a forum to discuss this issue, as well as talk a little bit about a more modern problem, how working has changed since previous generations, making the issue much more widespread. We discussed how millennials simply don't stay in the same jobs as long as previous generations, and the fact that the age for people at the time of their first pregnancies is rising, which often creates two competing timelines between work and family for people who can become pregnant. I really loved discussing this issue as more people join the fight for paid leave and put bipartisan pressure on the government to ensure paid family leave for all, which is finally catching up to the rest of the world. In the months after our webinar, paid family leave became a trending topic as it was used as a political football in the Build Back Better agenda. And I actually, this past October, took my own 3-year-old daughter to her very first rally down outside of Senator Schumer's apartment to try to convince him to keep it in the Build Back Better agenda. Like most, I'm assuming, I was saddened to see it drop from the proposed 12 weeks down to 4 and the fear that it still may be dropped completely. So if this issue is important to you, please consider taking time to call or write to your representatives, find a rally near you in the coming years, and watch Reproaction's coverage of this incredibly important issue and how it pertains to our work in reproductive justice.
Thank you so much, Liz. Next up is Caitlin.
Thanks. So my highlight for this year was getting the March for Life canceled. So back in January, we found out that the March for Life was urging tens of thousands of people to come to DC for a mass gathering with essentially daily case numbers being super high. We were still well in the middle of this deadly pandemic. And despite caps on large outdoor gatherings in the city being capped at 25 people, the March for Life was intending to have thousands of people gather to march. It was really amazing to see the way in which the Reproaction team came together to take action on this. We were able to quickly mobilize and create a petition that thousands, including many of you, have signed. We were able to pen a letter to the DC City Council and create graphics. And ultimately, our work paid off because just shortly after we announced our action on January 15th, March for Life announced it would be making it a virtual rally.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, and pass it over to Ten.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanasia. I'm a campaign coordinator at Reproaction, and you can follow me on Twitter at DJDumpThem. And my favorite action of this year was the Reproductive Justice and Astrology webinar. I really enjoyed being able to bring together two topics that create a container for us to be able to dream about the future of our movement and see how the leaders in the past in this movement who are no longer with us have their destinies in order to help us strive for justice were written in the stars. We had an incredible panel with people from all over with many different expertises, I guess, about their perspectives on how we can achieve justice and how we can use astrology to help us envision a better future. And I'm really looking forward to creating more spaces where we can envision a future as we continue this really tough fight we are in.
Awesome. Thank you, Ten. And I know that she had a previous conflict, but she was able to join us midway through. I just wanted to ask Eva, Caitlin did go through your movement building series webinar, but is there anything you'd like to say to our audience today, additional?
No, that was my original plan was for Caitlin to go over it. I'm pretty sure she did me justice. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Awesome, and thanks for saying hi, Eva. Appreciate you jumping in when you were able to come in. So thanks so much. Okay, next up will be Nataley.
Hi all, my name is Nataley Newman. I'm the executive assistant for Reproaction. I use she, her pronouns, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Nataley Newman. I had the pleasure of putting together a Reproaction September webinar titled Fatness and Reproductive Health, which examined the intersection of anti-fat bias and reproductive healthcare and justice. This conversation was rooted in the fact that anti-fat bias in healthcare is a public health concern and that anti-fat bias is inherently rooted in anti-Blackness. I unfortunately couldn't be there myself to present the webinar, but I was able to put together the content and the slides for this webinar. Erin, our executive director, laid out the many problems with anti-fat bias in healthcare, reproductive healthcare specifically, including problems with the BMI, otherwise known as the body mass index, fertility treatments for fat people, Plan B for fat people, and more. Erin and our guest panelist, May Friedman of Ryerson University in Toronto, Canada, had a fantastic conversation about fatness, reproductive justice, and oppression, and they talked through who has the right to parent and reproduce, what kind of families are policed because of their weight or appearance, motherhood and quote-unquote maternal failure, how fatness interacts with other identities, and more. I know this webinar touched a lot of people who attended, and I'm extremely pleased with how it turned out. If you'd like more information on this topic, the recommended readings are Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia by Sabrina Strings, and Thickening Fat, Fat Bodies, Intersectionality, and Social Justice by May Friedman, among others. And yeah, I'm really proud of this webinar. It went really well, and it touched on a really, really important topic that is near and dear to my heart. So thank you.
Thank you, Nataley. And next up is Kara.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kara Mailman. I am the Senior Research Analyst here at Reproaction. My pronouns are they, them, and you can follow me on Twitter at Kara Mailman. And my highlight for this year is the webinar that I got to do with my incredible colleague, Ten, on gender-affirming care for young people. This felt extremely important to both me and Ten, as the rise in hateful policies against trans people, including trans youth, have really, really kind of started to take center stage this year. We have seen more states introducing legislation that would harm trans youth or prevent trans people from being able to access so many portions of society. And a lot of this is based on bogus myths created by anti-trans activists. And so Ten and I got to spend this webinar with our incredible panelists debunking some of these bogus myths, and also talking about the interplay between anti-abortion and anti-trans activists. A lot of their arguments tend to be similar. For example, there are a lot of claims in the anti-abortion movement that science does not support abortion access, and similarly in the anti-trans movement, there are claims that science does not support giving trans people access to gender-affirming care. Both of these are equally garbage. Neither of those are true. Gender-affirming care is safe and effective, and it has been studied very carefully. And the real thing that I just want to make sure I leave with is that there is this idea in anti-trans spaces that if you don't support your trans child, they will eventually just live as their gender assigned at birth and be okay. And that providing support for your trans child is abusive, and that is just blatantly false. Giving gender-affirming care and being a supportive presence for the trans youth in your life, especially if they are your children, isn't abusive, it is suicide prevention. Supporting trans youth is vital. And yeah, that is all I have.
Thank you so much, Kara. Next up is Shireen.
Hello. So in late January of this year, we launched a survey that was shared among our supporters and more broadly in abortion rights and progressive spaces to gauge the impact of the anti-abortion movement on individuals, their work, and their lives. And I go really hard for data collection, especially on our opposition, but I really appreciated the approach this took to measure the harms of the anti-abortion movement in people's lives from day to day to the big picture. And we have to thank our North Carolina campaign coordinator, Tanisha Henson, who you heard from earlier, for crafting and implementing the survey and analyzing the findings. The top line, what we learned is that our work, especially on holding the opposition accountable, is more important than ever, and that our work on anti-abortion fake clinics is especially critical to both educate the masses on the anti-abortion movement's tactics and to minimize the harms that they spread. So I'm deeply proud of this work and look forward to the ways we can implement our findings going forward into 2022. Unfortunately, there's no real link I can provide to share this. The survey is no longer live. We've finished collecting and analyzing the findings, but you will definitely see it reflected in a lot of our work in 2022.
Thank you so much, Shireen. All right, and I will close it out. So as I introduced myself at the beginning, I'm Erin Matson, co-founder and executive director of Reproaction, and I use she, her pronouns. And my favorite action of 2021 was our self-managed abortion teach-in outside the Supreme Court. So in September of this year, a 6-week abortion ban went into effect in Texas, making access to in-clinic abortion care near impossible for a very large number of people. Some people being forced to travel hundreds of miles across state lines in order to access the care that they needed. This is a blatantly unconstitutional law that the Supreme Court has hatefully allowed to go into effect multiple times. It has provisions that for enforcement that empower anti-abortion bigots to be bounty hunters and to actually sue for what they would believe would be an infraction of the law. Additionally, On December 1st, so just last week, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization Supreme Court case that concerns Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban, which is, again, blatantly unconstitutional and, again, extremely cruel in depriving people of access to care that they need. I want to be very clear that at Reproaction, we demand that everyone has access to the abortion care they need without any shame, stigma, or government barriers or harassment put in place, regardless of where they are in their pregnancy. But this law went up before the court, and I know everyone who's on this webinar is well aware that what transpired in front of the court, the way that the stacked Supreme Court, now there are 6 of 9 justices have been placed on the Supreme Court in order to overturn Roe versus Wade. This is, in fact, Donald Trump installed 3 of them on the court, and he had speculated as a candidate that by putting his justices on the court, Roe v. Wade would be, quote unquote, overturned automatically. And based on what the justices were saying, it is clear that the future of the federal constitutional right to abortion in this country is in grave danger. But it is not all gloom and doom in the sense that times have changed since the pre-Roe versus Wade days. And Roe was the 1973 Supreme Court decision that affirmed the federal constitutional right to abortion. We now expect that the Supreme Court will end Roe v. Wade formally in one way or another by sometime next spring or summer when a decision is released on the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health case. But the times have changed a lot, and here's the deal. Abortion pills are magic. We say that at Reproaction. Abortion pills are unstoppable, and abortion pills are safe and effective. And we have reams of data from countries overseas where abortion is banned or extremely restricted, as the United States is increasingly moving to, that has shown that people are able to safely and effectively end their pregnancies with abortion pills. So what we did outside the Supreme Court this fall was we led a teach-in where we shared the protocol for ending a pregnancy with misoprostol. And the protocol is all over our website. If you want to look for it, go to reproaction.org/SMA. Empowering yourself with quality information is one of the most empowering steps that you can take in this hostile anti-abortion climate that we find ourselves in 2021. We will never give up. We will never stop making sure that people have access to the care that they need. And we will never be bullied out of providing quality healthcare information, whether that's anti-abortion activists like Students for Life, which came to counter-demonstrate at our teach-in, and who we expected to physically encroach upon the space of our volunteers, whether that is social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, which have been suppressing our quality healthcare content, sharing information about mifepristone and misoprostol abortion pills. We will never stop fighting to ensure that people get access to the care that they need. And in these dark days for our country, one thing that will never stop is abortion. Abortion opponents can ban abortion. This hateful Supreme Court may, in fact, revoke the constitutional protections that have been relied upon by generations of people as a key assurance of gender equality and racial justice. Abortion opponents can continue to lock more and more people in jail over abortion, over miscarriage, over contraception, over pregnancy, and we will not allow that to happen further. But you know what? No matter what they do, they will not be able to stop abortion. Abortion pills are magic. We will keep getting that word out there. We were extremely proud to stand in solidarity with our colleagues from Shout Your Abortion, who on the day of oral arguments on December 1st, there were 4 activists who actually took abortion pills right outside the Supreme Court that morning. That is what the future of abortion access is for a number of people, is taking abortion pills. But I want to be clear that self-managed abortion with any method is something that has long been practiced. It is rooted especially in indigenous communities and in communities of color. And we will continue to spread the good word about self-managed abortion at every chance we get. So please do check out reproaction.org/SMA for more information. And we'd love to see you at a future teach-in. So as well as protesting outside the court. So see you soon and in the streets. And with that, that's a good seg to urge you all to sign up for alerts at www.reproaction.org. We run these monthly Act and Learn webinars every month to dive into topics. You heard about a number of them, really great ones that we had in the past year with the leadership of our staff. And if you sign up for alerts, you won't miss a thing, whether it's an invitation to a teach-in in your area or our next Act and Learn webinar. And we also encourage you to follow us on social media. We are Reproaction on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And by cracky, no matter what, we are going to get our self-managed abortion information through on them, and we are fighting them tooth and nail. And also by signing up for our list, that means that you will get the opportunity to sign our petition to them. And you will get the opportunity when we do future surveys, like Shireen discussed, to participate. So please do engage. And also, please whip out your calendar and note down Wednesday, January 26th at noon Eastern. We're very excited for next month's topic, which will be Against the Death Penalty, a Matter of Reproductive Justice. And so really looking forward to that discussion. That's an important matter of reproductive justice and racial justice and fairness in this country. So if you want to talk about being pro-life for real, that is working against a racist policy that has been used to put so many people to death. And so with that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and just want to see a couple of comments that we're getting. Well done on the protesting. Thank you so much. We have so much fun with that. And also, it is imperative to protest peacefully, and that is what we are all about at Reproaction. As an organization that formed to increase access to abortion and advance reproductive justice, we believe in the power of nonviolent direct action to change the equation, and that's something we hold as sacred. So here's a great question from Leah, and I'm going to kick it back to Caitlin. The question, Caitlin, is, how can I help get the message about abortion pills out?
That's such a great question. The best way, the first thing I would do is make sure that you understand what self-managed abortion is. As Erin mentioned, on our website at reproaction.org/SMA, we go through the World Health Organization's protocols, but there's also resources including toolkits, blog posts, so you can start to understand how self-managed abortion fits into the larger context and story about abortion access nationally. And then in addition, we're actually hosting a training this afternoon at 4. You can sign up and the recording will be available after. That's answering that question of how to advocate for self-managed abortion and the best way to talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. And noted that someone signed up for a training. They'll miss that one. We will have more. Believe me, that's an important effort for us at our organization. And also have a comment of, thanks for all that you do. Also, can you make the survey PDF, please? So thank you for that comment. We are working to get out more information about this survey, so please do stay tuned for more in the future. Would love to share back key insights with both our list and the broader world, because it's important for people to know how much the anti-abortion movement has been literally terrorizing people and communities around the country. It truly is some of the worst behaviors that we see in the radical right wing in America are rooted in the extremely racist and sexist and violent anti-abortion movement. So thank you for your interest in that, and stay tuned. I will take just another moment and see if there's any more questions or comments coming in. Okay, and seeing none, I am going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us in, as Caitlin correctly noted, a brutal year. Thank you to the amazing and incredible, capable, talented, and just extremely intersectional, forward-thinking, creative Reproaction team. I think just by seeing this, everyone got confined to one slide alone. There's so much more we did over the course of the year. You can see just the breadth of what our team has been working on. So proud of this organization and so proud that you chose to spend this time with us. Look forward to seeing you in the streets and online in the coming year. Thank you so much. Bye.